Good morning. This will be a really difficult topic to talk about because I know that people have strong feelings when it comes to right to life issues. And it is difficult to talk about because I know that if I immediately mention right to life, I know that there will be some who will immediately put up a wall and not be open to listen to what I have to say. I ask you to please listen. Over these last 7 years as your pastor, I have never said to you or to the staff to do something because I said so or because the church says so. I always give a reason for why I might say so. I'm one that has learned to always look at the big picture, and I think that I don't judge very easily. We are all on the same journey to do what we think is right, following our conscience while also having to constantly learn to inform our conscience. So believe me when I say to you, though I know we might not all be on the same page, I do believe that many take their stance out of concern and compassion for those involved. I'm very sympathetic to people who are in the position of having to make a decision about having an abortion and the fear that comes to one in that situation. And I care very much for those who regret any decisions that they may have made in the past. And there are no enemies. We are all sinners, and there is mercy and compassion for all of us from Jesus. And I always hope to be a person that brings that mercy and compassion to others, no matter who they are, believe, or what they've done. We are, as I always say, beloved sons and daughters of God. In other words, I hope you can agree that I have shown to you very loving and a compassionate heart. Not perfect, but hopefully noticeably in my actions and words. And so I please ask you, with that in mind, to please listen with an open heart as one who wants to share with you my deep concerns for Proposal 3. I believe that Proposal 3 is extreme, and that no matter where you are on the issue of abortion, you would come to agree with me that this proposal goes too far. If you are like me, when I first saw that there was a petition to put the proposal out on the ballot, and I too was asked many times to sign the petition in these last months, I assumed it was a petition to simply reinstate Roe versus Wade, that is, ensuring abortion legal like it was before Roe was struck down, or merely establishing abortion as a right in the Constitution. But it is far beyond that simple in this proposal. One needs to look at the wording in this proposal. It is confusing and broad. In legal settings, words matter. And the way that this proposal is worded, to be confusing and nonspecific, tells me that this proposal was deliberately written to be vague and allow much more than to just simply reinstate Roe versus Wade as it was before. Words matter. So for instance, the proposal starts in the first sentence of the language where it says, every individual has a fundamental right to reproductive freedom. Because it says individual and not adult, the reproductive rights afforded in this amendment would apply to minors. Therefore, if a minor has a right to reproductive freedom, a teenager would be able to obtain an abortion without parental consent. You see, words matter. There is a reason why the word individual was chosen instead of the word adult. And I am concerned that we live in a culture that is constantly trying to divide the parent-child relationship. This proposal would be one of those times. I believe that it is necessary that children be counseled by their parents regarding life-altering medication decisions and medical decisions. I believe this counseling is a right for the parents, and I believe it's a right for the children. However, the amendment clearly provides that a minor girl can seek and obtain an abortion or contraception without parental consent or the parental knowledge. If you had a 13-year-old daughter, granddaughter, niece, would you be okay if someone without your knowledge took them to a clinic? Would you be okay with that? This proposal would not require parental notification or consent for a child to be treated at a clinic or receive contraception without your knowledge. Parental rights are taken away. Minor children would be making life-altering decisions at a time in their lives when they cannot possibly appreciate the ramifications of what they're doing. Birth control, drugs, surgical procedures, and sterilizations, as well as abortions. Anything to do with reproduction will be a fundamental right of the child enshrined in the Constitution. And because it would be enshrined in the Constitution, that it is a minor's fundamental right to reproductive freedom, anyone could take your child in for a procedure. Anyone, a neighbor, teacher, counselor, coach, for instance, could take a 13-year-old girl to get an abortion without telling her parents, and there is nothing her parents could legally do when or if they find out. The wording in this proposal says, "Nor shall the state penalize, prosecute, or otherwise take adverse action against someone for aiding or assisting a pregnant individual in exercising their right to reproductive freedom with their voluntary consent." And yet, parental consent is needed for a minor to receive a tattoo. Parental consent is needed for a child to receive Tylenol in school, but no consent would be needed for an abortion. That's why I say that words matter in this proposal. This is just one of the many aspects of Proposal 3 that make it extreme and not simply reinstating what was legal under Roe versus Wade. If I were to ask you, even if you believe that abortion should be legal, how far in that pregnancy would you think that an abortion should be allowed? 20 weeks, 24 weeks, 30 weeks, 36 weeks? Because words matter, Proposal 3 would allow the possibility of an abortion up to 9 months. I don't think that most people would agree up to 9 months. The proposal says the state may regulate the provision of abortion care after fetal viability. Now, this sounds like the state would put a ban on late-term abortions. But then it continues, provided that in no circumstance shall the state prohibit an abortion that, in the professional judgment of an attending health care professional, is medically indicated to protect the life or physical or mental health of the pregnant individual. Let me see if I can explain this plainly in my own way. The state of Michigan says that they would ban, that is, not allow an abortion of a baby that is considered to have fetal viability. That is, for the baby, if it was out of the womb, the child would still be able to survive. That's fetal viability. So the state would not allow the abortion of a baby in its latent stage of pregnancy having fetal viability, except, and this is where words matter, except when a healthcare professional and the pregnant woman feels that her physical or mental health can be adversely affecting the continuing of the pregnancy. And even though the baby is determined to have fetal viability, it could be terminated, even up to 9 months, because of saying physical or mental health matter of the mother. In other words, up to 9 months, we are not talking about having a decision to allow an abortion in order to save the life of the mother. We are talking about less or undefined anomalies considered mental health of the individual that could include things like depression, anxiety, or other medical issues. Issues of depression, anxiety, or medical non-life-threatening issues that can be successfully treated during pregnancy. Nothing in that involves anything that is life-threatening to the mother. This opens the door to abortion through pregnancy up to the day of delivery. And for almost any reason, words matter. And there's nothing specific that defines the physical or mental health of the woman in this proposal. That is why it is said that this proposal will easily allow abortions up to 9 months. The state would not allow a baby with fetal viability to be aborted, but a decision to abort that same child, able to survive outside of the womb at the late stage of pregnancy, could be terminated because of the physical or mental health matter. Those that are non-life threatening. Again, words matter. And in this instance, the definition of medical or mental conditions are not defined. The proposal is too confusing and too vague, especially when considering the life of a baby that has fetal viability. I've mentioned just parental consent and abortion up to 9 months. These are just two aspects of this proposal that are very concerning to me, and there are still others, and we can talk about those later. But for most people who are at different levels of acceptance of reproductive rights, they would see that Proposal 3 is not simply wanting to ensure abortion legal like it was before Roe was struck down. I hope that you can agree with me that this proposal is not that simple. It is extreme. Those who are proponents of Proposal 3 are just saying that it ensures the right to abortion, letting you think that it would just hold on to what was allowed by the state before. Read the proposal for yourself. This goes too far. Personally, I'm very concerned that our society is little by little destroying the parent-child relationship. Our culture has a way of making our children think that their parents are not their friends, that parents don't understand, you can't talk to them, they won't love you. But you can trust those who are not their parents and keep secrets from their parents. I'm seeing this again and again, and it is one of the main reasons that I feel that this proposal could be very damaging to individuals and the family dynamic, all under the guise that they simply want to only to enshrine the right to choose as it once was. I think that there are many, as I once assumed, that this petition was simply an effort to ensure women's rights. The truth is far different and far worse. This proposal comes as a package deal. It would be enshrined in the Constitution. Once something is enshrined in the Constitution, it cannot be easily undone. The laws enshrined in the Constitution foundationally trump all other laws. Even people who are inclined to be pro-choice need to realize that with this amendment, they don't get to pick and choose what they like. If it passes, they get the whole thing, not just parts that they might think are acceptable or good. Proposal 3 would create a more extreme abortion policy than is had in any other state in the Union. With this amendment, Michigan would have one of the most permissive and egregious abortion laws in the world, right up there with China and North Korea. That is why it is important that you have knowledge of this proposal. And I ask that you may inform your family and friends about the truth of this proposal. You need to talk and discuss this with them. We need to pray, fast, and give alms. I'll tell you after these masses how many times many people said, I didn't know that. We have to inform our people the truth of this. Words matter. Read it for yourself. See how confusing and vague this proposal is. I'm not trying to deceive you. What I am is very concerned. As I read the proposal and continue to research its meaning, I can't believe that I'm even having to talk about something so extreme and so dishonestly being presented in commercials and by the media. And while I'm doing the research of the truth of this proposal, I get nauseated. I read something about it, I think about the reality of what it presents as the whole and the total, and then I have to move away from the researching of it and come back. It's truly hard for me to believe that we are confronted with such a proposal, and not just somewhere, but here in Michigan. What the heck? I'm very concerned. This proposal is too extreme. Read it for yourself. Words matter.